From the original film becoming the standard for upcoming movies, to the sequel potentially being even bigger, it looks like the Dune franchise has gotten a hold of the box office. In fact, predictions have it that Dune 2 will most probably be the biggest film of 2023. While the movie was definitely one of the greatest of all time, things are looking a little different, but in a good way this time. The Part 2 seems to be much bigger than the first adaptation, whether that's in terms of the plot or the supposed success at the box office. There's many reasons why critics and fans believe that this upcoming film will actually keep everyone on the edge. Looking back, Denis Villeneuve had always dreamed of making Dune in 2 parts. But the problem was that Dune 2 was only to be confirmed after the first film had succeeded. And that's exactly what happened. After Dune's success in late 2021, HBO Max confirmed that Dune 2 had been greenlit. And now the film is about to land in cinemas this year. But the question is, why does everyone think this film would be much better and bigger than the first? Well, there are several reasons. One of them being the scope of the second half of the novel. Yep, you heard that right. The first part was awesome, but the second half of Frank Herbert's novel is even better. This half of the novel has a bigger scope, and as the story proceeds, it gets even better. The reason why it's like that is because the first film already has the setup required for the story to continue, and eventually reach the epic climax. That means this new film will focus more on depicting the adventure, the iconic double crosses, as well as the visions of the future. And obviously, Fremen riding none other than the sandworms into massive wars and battles. But that's not all. Apart from the plot, this upcoming film also has the upper hand when it comes to the cast. The cast. The movie has some pretty great actors coming together. It's been confirmed that most of the cast members from Part 1 will be making a return. That means be ready to watch Timothée Chalamet along with Zendaya, as well as others in this new film. But the characters that died in the last film may or may not make it to Part 2. But with that said, some new faces will also join the cast. As per the reports, Christopher Walken, Léa Seydoux, Pugh, and Butler have joined the cast. In fact, I know what characters they'll be playing too. Walken is set to appear as Shaddam IV, and Pugh as his daughter Princess Irulan. Not just that, Seydoux is set to appear as Lady Margot, while Butler will be playing Fade Routha Harkonnen. Oh, and how can I forget about Tim Blake Nelson, who's also joining the cast for this upcoming movie. However, the problem is that his character is yet to be named. But all in all, it's clear that this film is definitely ahead of the first part in terms of the cast. With such a plot and cast, hopes are definitely high. And I'll have to say that Dune 2 will probably beat Part 1's box office. And that's just exactly why the sequel is expected to be super successful. In fact, it might make it the biggest film of 2023. The first adaptation did have a hiccup when it came to the box office, since the film was released both in theaters as well as HBO Max simultaneously. In the US, it wasn't as successful as it was in the international market. Looking at the metrics, it could only make $100 million at the US box office. But foreign markets earned well over $300 million. But this sequel actually has the chance to earn big bucks, both in and outside of the US. Why? Well, this one doesn't have to worry about the loss of theatrical earnings because of piracy or home streaming, since it's not being released amidst a pandemic. And if this one actually becomes much more successful, it would eventually lead to the production of Dune Messiah as well. Anyways, apart from all this, there's a lot in this movie that establishes just how great it was. It's been confirmed that the new film will begin right after the events of Part 1. No time jumps or anything. So, looking back at the ending of the first film, it wrapped up with Lady Jessica and Paul going with the Fremen into the desert. This happened right after Paul had killed off Jameis, as this was the only way for him to win protection by the Arrakis natives. Later, he, along with his mother, was led by Stilgar and Chani, as they traveled through the desert to one of the Fremen strongholds. In the end, fans saw Paul seeing Fremen riding a sandworm, while Chani said that this is only the beginning. Well, that really was just the beginning, since the next movie will carry on the story from that very moment. The decision to add no time jumps is actually a good one, since it will depict the journey the way it was written in the novel. Not to mention, it also allows Villeneuve to explore different bits and pieces of Muad'Dib's rise to power. Plus, Paul's journey in this new film will mostly be about how he got to lead the Fremen as they go to war against House Harkonnen. So yes, if the sequel tells the story in this way, there won't be any need for a time jump. And while we're on the topic, let's not forget about the details in this first look clip of the film. After all, it's hard to ignore what Pugh's Princess Irulan said. In the first look footage, Florence Pugh is seen as Princess Irulan, and she also included a voiceover in the clip. While narrating a portion of the video, she can be heard saying, "In the shadows of Arrakis lie many secrets, but the darkest of them all may remain. The end of House Atreides." This line actually teases one of the most asked questions in the Dune universe, and the princess mentioning that also means that this new film will go on to explore the mystery behind the downfall of House Atreides. It'll also explore the reality of Sardaukar and Harkonnen forces, how they worked together, how did they bring House Atreides to an end. In fact, Irulan's interest in knowing the truth about it will eventually lead her to ask herself whether Paul is alive or not. In the footage, you can see the moment when she asked the very same question.
The end of House Atreides. Your father didn't believe in revenge. What if Paul Atreides were still alive?
As of now, it looks like Irulan's role will be of great importance in this film, and that the first film had already set up the connection between all the plots. Oh, and there's another banger that'll make viewers more interested in the film. Paul and Chani will come even closer this time. While their romance wasn't as intense in the first film, hold your seats because this upcoming film will also show their romantic life's development. After all, it's one important part of the story. In the trailer, you can see Chani and Paul together on Arrakis, as he describes what Caladan was like. Now, the two look much closer to each other, and it's a clear sign that their relationship will progress in part 2. I mean, didn't you see Chalamet and Zendaya kissing in the later minutes of the video? Not to mention, this romance is why Zendaya's role will become even bigger this time, since she will be playing an important role in the protagonist's life. But that's not where the factor's making its grand end. Did you know that they filmed the entire film in IMAX? Everything from the plot, cast, and storyline aside, there's one thing that would make the viewers go crazy. And that's the fact they filmed it all in IMAX, meaning the biggest sequences will look even bigger. For example, the massive sandworms, giant armies, and the war scenes. Everything is going to feel and look bigger than ever. And that's all the reasons why Dune 2 could be the biggest movie of 2023. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.